already fishing for squid. Get away from the shore!
Is he really just out of reach here?
He's mocking us.
He knows what he's doing.
It's like right in the corner, just like, oh, me?
And like he's just spinning down
He
there.
is! I'm so offended. Don't you dare. Yes, you get out of that corner.
Thank you.
Shoo. My goodness.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my word. Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Castworks without a guest.
Hello.
Hello. We are unsupervised. It's amazing.
I love it.
We do. We both love it. Sorry, were you ready?
Yeah, no, I'm ready. I just keep muting in between because the mower keeps going past my window.
We love it. Love the mower.
Yeah.
Subscribe
Yeah.
for more mowing content. Anyway, it's like our catchphrase. We need to make
Pretty much.
Castworks merch, and that's going to be on a t-shirt. That's going to be the mug.
The mug, yeah.
Anyway, today we're going to be talking about confidence. Because
Yeah, that.
some of us have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
50-50 chance one of us has it. It's like our shared brain cell. We pass it back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, confidence it's a weird thing.
It really is. It's a very odd thing because some people think it's negative, but that's because they're defining it incorrectly. It's pride that's a bad thing, and confidence is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We will.
Yeah. No, I can agree.
So I'm curious to know. Hang on, train's coming back. Just give me a minute.
We haven't done this in a few weeks, so
It's been a while, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, I got a tripwire hook.
Nice.
Thank you. So I'm kind of curious, were you ever shy as a kid? Because I was not, as like preschool, middle school, I wasn't that shy, like at all. I was actually a teacher's pet, so I spoke up a lot.
So for me, it's a little weird. Okay, so
That's okay.
I am terrible around people. At least like just one-on-one interactions or very small group interactions, especially when I don't know people. But I've always been perfectly fine with getting up in front of people, like in large crowds, whether it's the music stuff or like with Minecraft, with me doing the YouTube thing. Like I'm perfectly fine with being in front of audiences, but give me a small crowd of people, especially ones that I don't know. You're not going to hear me speak. You're not going to hear me take part in anything that's happening there, unless somebody just happens to bring something up musically that I know about.
So even as a kid, were you better with crowds?
Yeah.
Weird. I don't know if
Yeah,
we've,
it's
we've
very
ever
weird.
mentioned it, but you're kind of weird, Blaine.
Wow. Thanks.
You're welcome. We brought this up like every podcast now.
Yeah. Yeah. What, the fact that I'm weird or the fact that that I'm good in front of people?
I mean, yes, on both accounts.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's me, I guess. I've always been that way. And I don't really understand where that comes from. My social anxiety has always been absolutely terrible to the point that I would have to pre-plan my conversations before hanging out with people. Which is weird because now here we are doing content on YouTube where a lot of what we do is just on the fly. And
Exactly.
especially like these podcast recordings, we don't plan this.
We
so
didn't plan this at all, no.
we don't plan any of them.
I
The
sent
most we
him
have are
the
the
prompt
questions.
like 3 hours ago. I'm kind of curious about that particular subject because at one point I don't remember if it was, no, it wasn't me, but I was in like a Q&A session with a band that we had gone to see a concert for. Is a long story. One gal got up to ask them a question, and her first thing she said was, "Sorry, I'm not very good at public speaking, so you're gonna have to bear with me." And the artist we were going to see, his first question back to her was, "Well, how many people does it take for it to be public speaking?" So I'm curious if you have an answer, Lane. At what point are you just like, nope, can't do it?
I don't think it, for me anyway, it's not so much of a matter of people, it's a matter of context.
Yeah.
So I guess for me, I'm more comfortable when it's a performance. Because if I'm talking If I'm just talking with a group of people, like a small group of people, then that might be different. Unless, like, for whatever reason, I just hit it off immediately, like I did with Craftworks folks. Otherwise, it's gonna take a while.
Hmm.
Um, but performance-wise, it doesn't matter if I'm in front of one person or if I'm in front of 100 people. I'm comfortable one way or the other.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't even think about the confidence aspect of like meeting new people either, but that's kind of an interesting thing we could touch on too is
Yeah.
at one point, do you get comfortable with people? Because I remember as a trainer at my old workplace, I would get to meet a lot of the new kids because I would usually be the first person they went through because I was supposed to train them. And it would, even as like their, not really their authority, but like somebody in an amount of authority over them, I would still get nervous about talking to them and be like, oh, I don't want to be too weird because I am kind of one of the weird ones here. Just, believe it or not. Yeah. So,
Yeah, I relate to that though. I relate to that.
yeah. So it usually take like, wouldn't take too long for me to be comfortable with them. And like you said, if I click with them, that makes it a lot easier. I do that with clients now too. Like I've had a couple gals in my chair who I wasn't sure how I would vibe with them and then found out it's like, oh my gosh, you're my age. Oh my gosh, you go to church too. Oh my gosh, do you like D&D and Hollow Knight? We're going to get along just fine. And that's within like a matter of hours.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a skill that can also be acquired, the whole conversational aspect of getting to know people. And
It is.
it's almost like, I hate the idea of it, but speed dating,
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah,
much
I
how...
don't like the idea of that either, but
Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty much customer service, though, is like getting to know somebody as fast as possible so you can give them the best experience and then letting them leave.
Yeah. Well, the way I've always summed it up is just get them in, get them out. I don't want to be around people.
Oh, well then. Everybody go check out Lane at his workplace.
Nope, don't do that. If you find me at work and you know who I am, I'm gonna be surprised.
That's fair. I had a little bit of a different
yeah.
perspective on my workplace, but if I kind of had to, our particular expectations at my workplace were quite a bit different than they are at yours, and I can guarantee that just from
Oh
what
yeah,
little I know.
without a doubt.
Oh yeah.
Well, your context is a lot more different from mine.
Would you say that customer service helped your confidence at all?
No,
Okay, cool. Glad we covered
without
that.
a doubt, without a doubt, it did not
Hi,
at
Cat.
all. But yeah, for me, it didn't really help all that much. Yeah, it's customer service. Well, I really don't know how else to put it other than we're surrounded by idiots.
I'd say in my
Um,
workplace it wasn't that bad.
Okay, it's not that bad, but it can be that bad. And a lot of times those people just get me more frustrated than anything. So I would not say that it's helped at all. As a matter of fact, when I'm at work and I'm around people, my anxiety can get a little bit higher than if I was just in a group interaction. And that's because I never know who I'm dealing with here in
Yeah.
terms of a customer and what sort of thing might occur to it. I've got stories for days on working in customer service, and a lot of which are honestly probably not even fit to be brought up here. Okay,
Yeah.
so but it's due to the nature of where I work. It's not a bad place. It's just that kind of clientele, I guess.
Yeah. I think I was kind of
yeah.
spoiled with my workplace because it was a really good work environment and the customers that came through were usually pretty happy. I had very
Yeah.
few horror stories. And to be fair, going into it, I was a very shy teenager just looking for her first job. So that kind of was my introduction to like, oh, I guess I kind of do have people skills or have accumulated them over the years. And
Yeah.
maybe I am okay with making conversation with complete strangers for a little while they wait for their food.
Yeah. Like for me, like my first job, without disclosing the location, I worked the back of house area of it. So I
Oh.
didn't have the customer interaction at first either. And so like the only people I talked with were the coworkers that I had, whether it's the front of house or back of house, and that was it. And I was perfectly fine with that. And then I stepped into a managerial role where occasionally I would have to work the front of house stuff. And I had to develop those skills, and they were not easy. And they did not feel natural at all, especially at first. And to this day, they still don't feel completely natural to me because, I mean, I guess we are our own worst critics. I know my fake voice. I know my customer service voice, and I know that it's just not right. And there are times where I feel like the customers could even tell. So
Yeah. I will say, I've had kind of an odd little, like, confidence building journey throughout my life. But I think the climax of it that made me realize is like, oh, okay, that's actually kind of working. With like my culmination of theater experience in high school and customer service at my first job for 4 years, kind of all came to a conclusion when I took one of my clients at school and was really nervous about how it was going to go. But then we wrapped it up and she actually liked what I ended up doing. And my instructor asked me afterwards, like, what did you think? I was like, oh, I wasn't sure about it. I had notes and I wasn't sure if it was going to work. And she's like, well, you did not let that come across to your client at all. You communicated with them super well. And I love how you kept them in the loop for the entire process, and you're doing a very good job. I'm like, oh, I felt terrified that entire time. I'm so glad that didn't come across at all. And I was just like, oh, I guess I can fake it till I make it. Who knew?
but that's interesting that you bring up the fact that like your instructor had brought it up to you. Sometimes that's all that we need is just to be told by somebody.
Validation.
Hey, you did good.
Right? And that is such a confidence booster too.
It is. It's a big one. It's very underrated, I think.
Do you have a story like that?
Not particularly, not one that comes to mind anyway.
Lane,
I'm
you're
sure I
doing
do.
such a
but-
good job. Just wanted to let you know. You're so inspiring. And if
Well, there
nobody's
was that
told you
one
yet-
time
yeah,
where we
there
were
you
doing
go.
a podcast, and Izzy told me that I was doing good.
I felt bad. That's sad that you don't have one.
No, I know that I have one somewhere, but I don't.
Everybody go
have
tell
it.
Lane he's doing good in the comments.
Yes, there we go.
There you go. Let's make this a story.
And I'm sure that I've got a story like that somewhere. I honestly did not prepare at all for this
Well, that's
interview,
okay.
so I don't know.
I'm figuring out questions
did,
on
you
the
know.
fly.
Yeah. So I don't really know, but I do think that that's incredibly underrated is the validation aspect of it, because sometimes that's just all a person needs to make them feel comfortable with what they're doing. And when a person feels comfortable, they start to feel confident in what they're doing because
Like-
they can relax a little bit.
Do you remember like your first? This is probably. I feel kind of hypocritical because I don't even know the answer to this question. But like your first comment that you ever got that made you think like, oh my gosh, somebody actually thinks I can do this.
And literally any comment I got on the very first video I put out.
That's fair.
Any one of them.
That's so
Because
sweet.
all of them were so nice. And
Aw.
to this day, that video is still outperformed any other video on my channel.
Oh really?
So yeah, really. It's sitting at like 5,500 views right now or something like that.
Look at you go. Starting off
Eh,
strong.
It didn't start off that strong. It
That's
did
fair.
accumulate over time. Like I stopped looking at the views after
Aw.
a short while, but they did come pretty quickly. It just took a few weeks for it to get there. I think what happened was I changed my thumbnail after I figured out how to put the PNG of my character over it.
That's so real.
And then once I changed the thumbnail, it's like all the views came in right then.
Ah, go change your thumbnail.
Yes, that's
Let
the
that-
moral of the story here. Just change
You want to
your
be
thumbnail.
confident? Go change your thumbnail.
Yeah,
There you
exactly.
go. That's it. That's so sweet, though. Yeah,
But it's
Go ahead.
I was about to say it's also there's something about it when you have a comment that comes through. I don't remember the specific comment or who commented it or when it was, but I remember at one point there being one where they were like, you kind of remind me of this other YouTuber that I watch, and it was another bigger Minecraft YouTuber, and I can't remember who they said right there.
Aw.
But like I remember having seen it at that point, and I was like, huh, the fact that I'm being compared to like high quality people and people aren't being disappointed, that makes me feel good.
The fact that I'm not disappointing people is making me feel good.
Yeah, pretty
so-
much. Yeah.
We need to raise Lane's standards for himself. That's sad.
Oh no, my standards are high for myself, but
That's yeah.
I mean,
feel
I
that.
also understand my limitations, and like I haven't been doing this as long as most of the people that I watch.
Well,
So
that's good. See, that's another thing that can give you confidence is realistic expectations.
yeah,
Yeah, because I
all good.
yeah, I always have high expectations for the quality of my videos and low expectations for the performance.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it.
But some of my favorite comments have come from like the videos I work really hard on, even if they don't get that much traction, like the rhyme
Yep.
series. And one of my very favorite comments I ever got, excuse me, was one of the rhymes movies that I posted on my channel. And the comment was something along the lines of, "You are now one of my, oh, bye, Cap, one of my favorite YouTubers to watch, including like your videos now rank higher in my mind than all of the hermits except for
Yeah.
Etho." And the fact that they made that exception was like, oh, well, yeah, nobody's going to outrank
Nobody's gonna
Etho.
top Etho.
I
mean,
know. I wouldn't dare try. Me and
no,
my,
no. I mean,
my little
I watch
corner of the
Etho's
internet.
content. I mean,
I still haven't, but okay.
well, you're behind the times,
I'm
but
aware.
you also consume Minecraft content differently than the rest of us too.
Yeah,
So
I barely consume Minecraft content.
yeah, because like you do this to tell a story. You don't really do this for the Minecraft, but for the
Yeah,
story. So
I'm not a gamer. Just
and where Etho is the complete opposite. There's not much story. It's all Minecraft.
right. Yeah, I'm not smart enough for Etho videos.
I don't
You're-
think any of us are smart enough for Etho.
If you
videos.
watch Etho videos, you're either smart or a simp.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I was about to ask you a question. I've forgotten what it was. Oh, yes, I remembered what it was. What is your favorite comment to get on a video?
Ooh, see,
favorite
that's
kind.
that's a tough one.
I'll give you an
That-
example.
okay.
One of my favorite comments to get is when people say that they like my voice, because that's something I can't change. Obviously, that's not something that can be different in post
Yeah.
without causing some drama.
Yeah.
So that's always been a really sweet thing for me, especially when people compare me to voice actresses that I really like, because I love voice acting. I don't have a strong enough voice for it, so that's just kind of sad, but I would love to try at some point. Actually, I have tried. Empress Little Bit has a video on her channel that I got to help with a little bit of the voice acting, so that was fun. But I'd love to do more of it, and it's really sweet when people say that they like my voice and compare it to like cartoon voice actresses, because that makes me feel good.
Yeah. So I think for me, I mean, for me, mine kind of is in my control, but it's like when people can see how much effort has been put into, I'm going to say my evolution of building
Mm-hmm.
since I started the channel. Like, I mean, compare my first starter house to what I just finished here in Craftworks with this season. You know, that's wildly different. That's a huge upgrade in terms of building. And seeing people talk about that, you know, we were some of my favorite comments. I had a comment, I want to say it was from Whiffs. I could be wrong. But
He makes his way around.
yeah, well, I'm pretty sure it was Whiffs that commented on my last video. Last as in when we are recording this. And he had said something along the lines of, "This has been my favorite mega base to watch come together."
Aww.
And that made me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Because, I mean, like, I watch the Hermits. I've seen what they can do over there,
Shoot.
you know? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I see what a lot of these other builders have done, like Flip, or any of the Hermits, or Sausage, or anybody like that. And I'm like, well, the fact that this is being said about one of my builds, it makes me feel good about myself. So that definitely helps. And weirdly enough, like you're talking about the voice, it reminded me of one comment I had. I think it was back on my first video as well, where
Oh, wait,
someone
is this the one that said that you have a lovely accent?
yeah, I was talking about my southern accent.
It's so cute,
Which-
though.
I try my hardest to mask it nowadays, but it was so hard to do it back then because I was uncomfortable with doing what I was doing at the time.
We talked about
And,
that, too, when
yeah.
we first met.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was a weird one. I don't know. Like
thought it was cute.
I look. I don't care for my accent, but
Yeah,
everybody
it's
else
very nice.
does. So it is what it is.
We need more Southern YouTubers.
Yeah. There we go. More of Lanos and feathers around here.
Yeah. Love those boys.
Yeah.
And girls. Melissa's got a little bit of it.
She does. Yeah.
You can tell when you guys have been hanging out together.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Because her Southern accent gets way more Southern.
Yep.
It's-
Yep.
It's funny.
And you can tell in the way she calls me brother constantly. It's how
Brother.
she says it. There's
It's
just something
cute.
about it.
Yep. You can tell when Norm has been hanging out with anybody because he just copies
Yep.
everyone's accents.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
But he just does accents very well though.
That's true. It's not fair.
Yeah.
I wish. Imagine how many
But-
voice acting gigs you could get.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Mm.
But talking about comments that we enjoy, there's also one other one. So like I know you just mentioned like one, and I'm mentioning like three here.
That's
but,
fine. That's usually how this
um,
works.
Yeah, but like another type that I really like is when it's constructive criticism.
Oh.
If I have somebody that just like I've never had a comment like this for the record, but if I had somebody comment on my video and say this video just sucks, I'm just not even going to pay that comment any attention.
Hmm.
But if there's comment is that's explaining why they didn't care for the video, and they can actually explain what went through their head as they're seeing it, then I can appreciate that. I've seen that before. But like that's something that I can appreciate because that helps me grow as a content creator, and then people start picking up on that, and then that kind of helps with the confidence later on. So
Do you want to know my weird way of figuring out if a video is done well or not?
if there's any dislikes on it,
Yep.
yeah,
That is
I do the same thing.
Yep. If there are any dislikes on a video, then I have done it well.
All of my best performing videos have got dislikes on them.
I hate it when I go to my analytics page and everything's just 100%, 100%. No! Somebody's got to hate it.
And you would think that that's backwards.
But
like
it's
if you're
not.
looking, yeah, it's not. Like from the outside looking in, that's how our viewers would expect us to want to look at the analytics.
Because I'm tapping on.
Sorry. Someone had to do it.
Well, it wasn't gonna be me.
It's gonna
Um,
be me. Sorry.
But yeah, like from the viewers' perspective, they would watch our channel and be like, oh, well, they definitely want everybody that watches it to love their videos. And
I mean,
that's true.
please don't dislike it just because we said so, but
Yeah. But if you dislike it because we want to know. We want to know what we could have improved on.
oh well, I don't even do it just because. I mean, that dislike button's not very constructive, to be honest.
Well, it's not.
It's not because you don't know why somebody did that unless they
I
outright.
wish it would tell you when in the video they hit it.
Ooh, that would be interesting. Although to be fair, people sometimes just go through and dislike stuff, so
Yeah.
Usually there's not even a reason.
However, one of the reasons it is a good thing, and this is something I actually learned from my writing class, believe it or not. It's not like I ever mentioned that ever happening in my life.
No,
But
never.
no, never. And Lane never talks about how he's good in front of crowds.
That was one thing that they taught us.
Was you haven't made it until you get your first 1-star review as a writer. Because that means somebody read the book, took the time to analyze why they didn't like it, and then wrote a review to tell people why. And
Yep.
that is very rare. Believe it or not, lots of people will tell you why they like something. And lots of people will complain, but very few people take the time to log into their computer, go back to the place where they got the book, and then type out a full review of why it was they didn't like it. Believe it or
Yeah.
not, the haters aren't that. What's the opposite of lazy? Active? I don't know.
Yeah.
I
Something like
lost the
that.
word. What's today?
Today's Tuesday.
Ah, it's 6:39. I have no excuse. Anyway, what else is on my list? My cleverly thought out outline that I definitely didn't type out 10 minutes before we started. Ah, here we go. Getting back to the timeline. So this is going to sound like a therapy question. Can you point out the moment in your life where your confidence just dipped as a teenager? Because I feel like
Ooh.
I feel like everybody goes through this where
middle school, you're doing just fine. Partway through middle school, you start seeing things and it's like, oh, well, maybe I'm not as cool as I thought I was. And then high school hits and you're just like, you are the worst person in the world. And now everyone should know it by you not talking to anyone.
I think so. From like my early childhood all the way up until the end of 8th grade, I was fine with myself. I really didn't care what people thought. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was bullied stuff too, but like I didn't really care what people thought. And then 9th grade, it kind of switched a little bit. Like at that point, I still didn't care what people thought, but I did start trying to take a little bit better care of myself because I started realizing, hey, I'm getting older now, and I need to do something different with myself. Whether it was like how I was dressing at the time, I was just throwing stuff on. I didn't care. My hair was always a mess. Just little things like that.
Typical
So like
teenage boy.
yeah, exactly. But like the beginning of 9th grade, it's a new school, new people, new friends that I've got to make,
Mm.
and I don't know anybody. So naturally, by this point, I'm like, I feel like I stand out here because I'm the new guy, and I'm getting looks, but none of these looks are like the ones that I want people to have. Like not the kinds that are inviting me over to hang out with them, you know?
Oh.
And granted, that ended up not mattering because my friend group came to me anyway, so.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where I feel like my lowest was, like right there at the very beginning of like 9th grade. And after that, it started going up from there because after I started kind of putting a little bit more care into my appearance and how I at least presented myself, then things became different. I at that point started actually feeling like, hey, maybe I actually am handsome like my mom says.
Aw.
And little things like that, I guess. But
Actually, weirdly enough, I think I can think of the time when I realized I wasn't happy with the way I was, I guess.
That sounds really sad, but it's unfortunately true that
Pretty much every teenager does go through that. So I think mine was probably around 13, 14 when I figured out I had that little voice that was saying, maybe don't say that thing in front of your friends and maybe try to dress a little bit better. So similar to what yours was,
yeah,
but it still got quite loud as I got older.
Yeah.
And didn't really get drowned out by anything until I started in theater class. Because at that point, I had people around me who were telling me, it's like, hey, you're doing a good job, or hey, you're actually good at XYZ. And before, it basically just been me comparing myself to other people to
yep,
tell if I was doing good or not.
I relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as appearance goes, I didn't really do anything about it until I was like in my early 20s. So,
Well, I mean, I really started caring more about my parents when I turned 19. That was pretty much when things changed. I was like, let me walk around here and not look like I've got a mop on my head. And I went and got a haircut. Like so I worked with a bunch of females at that time.
oh,
And they were those kinds that were super supportive and was like, dude, you should do this. You should try this hairstyle. You should try this. Try this. Try. And then I was like, look, I need y'all to agree on one, and then I'm gonna take it to my barber, and we're gonna do it from here. And so they happen to know who my barber was, or well is, and my barber is one of those people. If you walk into her salon and you say, hey, I want to try this, if she thinks it's not going to look good on you, she's going to tell you. But that's just a southern barber, a southern older barber like her. But I walked in there and I showed her and I was like, what do you think? And she's like, no, I think you can do this. I think this will be a good one.
aw.
And she was like, so what I did was like, I'm not even going to try and explain the hair, but we did kind of alter it from the reference image just a
I
little
want
bit.
you to explain it though.
No, because I don't know how to explain it.
You can't just.
There's like, I don't know, it's like a little casually messed up and like gelled up on the top, and like the sides have got a little bit of a fade to them, but not much.
Did she use clippers?
The-
Does she use shears for the whole thing?
She used clippers for the top, I think.
Ah, okay. It's just a typical guy cut. Okay.
Yeah, but like the fade in the picture was like way stronger, and I was like, I don't like that. That's not.
Too
And
much
she was like,
spin.
no, we're not. Yeah. And she
Yeah.
was like, no, we're not gonna do that either. So,
She knows. That's sweet.
she knows. Yeah.
Aw.
And once I left there, I pulled up at my workplace. Like it was my day off, but I knew they were both there. And I texted one of them and I was like, hey, y'all come out here and take a look before I drive home. And they come out and like they dragged me out of my truck to like take pictures and stuff. I'm like, bro, chill.
I can't say anything because every time one of my coworkers went and got a fresh haircut, I'd be like, oh my gosh, 360, let me see the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, at the time, like I was still working there, but I had to wear a hat and stuff. So like they never really got to see that. And now I don't bother to like actually style up my hair when I go to work. I just make it look good and I go. Yeah, so like that helped, and then the actual change in fashion. So I mean, my whole fashion has changed over the last 10 years. And that's helped a lot.
He
as
started
well.
wearing leather jackets.
The leather jacket, yep, that started December of 2020. Yeah.
Ooh,
It was a Christmas gift.
cute. The origin story.
The origin story.
When did I start? I have the same sweater I've had since like beginning of high school, and it's still one of my favorites. I call it my desk sweater because it sits at my gaming chair most of the time. So
I mean, I've still got my drum major outfit from my senior year.
cute.
Now, granted, that was a white button-up T-shirt over a Superman shirt, but
What? Do I need context?
it was the marching theme was DC versus Marvel. At the end of
Ooh.
at the end of Superman, I think it was, or like either the end of Superman or the end of another song, like right before Superman, I would turn around and rip open the button-up shirt.
Nice. I didn't know you guys did
Yeah.
like performance stuff.
Oh yeah,
Very cool.
but the band stuff is what really helped my confidence. So.
Theater was mine, obviously.
I
So-
mean, for me, like mine stems not even just from being a drummer, but to being a performer as a whole. It helped me develop as a guitarist, primarily speaking. Oh, I've got a story on that one, but
Go for it. That's what this is for. I have some too,
Okay.
so I'd be curious.
Okay, well, I'm definitely interested in hearing your stories, but I feel like I'm rambling too much right now.
I am so brain dead. You can take the wheel.
Okay, okay. Hi, chat. Hi, chat. My name is Elaine, and I've got another story to tell.
This
So-
is me. You're probably wondering
Yeah.
how I got here.
Pretty much. So, senior year of high school, we did this thing called jazz band, or well, we were doing it since I had started the band, but we were doing.
They did this thing called
this-
jazz.
Well, we didn't actually play jazz though.
Yes,
It
I
was
know.
like
I know what
it was
jazz
like
band
classic
is.
rock.
It's okay.
Yeah, but we didn't actually play jazz. We played rock. That's what we did.
Yeah, I'm aware. My parents did the same thing. They did not play
Yeah.
jazz.
Yeah, and the closest we got to it was like I don't know, like a different key for one of the songs that was a little bit jazzier. But even then, I played power chords. I didn't play jazz chords. So we were doing. I can't remember what the third song was. It wasn't like a big one. It was just one that was out of the music book we were looking at. And we did "Born to Be Wild" by Steppenwolf.
Ooh.
Steppenwolf, or yeah.
I don't know.
And we did. Well, I'm sure you've heard "Born to Be Wild." I'm sure you have.
Yes.
Everybody
It
has.
just went through my head. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Took me a minute though.
Yeah, and we did we did 25 or 6 to 4 by Chicago, which is probably one of the jazziest songs we did because Chicago is just they're like a culmination of everything.
Oh yeah. Little bit
and-
of everything. Sorry.
Yes, that's
That's called burning.
but so we did it in like a slightly different key than the original. By slightly different, I mean it's the exact same key, but it was it was in the relative of it. So the original key is in A minor. We played
Okay.
it in C major.
I shouldn't have been confused
Yeah.
because apparently
And
there's
yeah. So because instead of me starting on an A minor, I started on a C, and it threw off everything.
oh my goodness.
Because the way I
that
had
even
learned
legal?
the original, it shouldn't be.
Sorry.
But the way I learned it, because I liked that song before playing in jazz band. The way I learned it was originally in the original key, and so we got into it. And at this point, I don't know how to improvise. I barely know anything about keys. I didn't really register, hey, this is starting differently than the way I learned it before. Because that was how fresh I was to guitar still. And
He could not, in fact, play jazz.
could not. But we rehearsed through it, and I got the chords down or whatever. And the band director was like, okay, so I want somebody here to take some solos because somebody here has to improvise, right? Somebody's got to learn how to do this. This is band. And so I was like, well, look, I don't want to improvise over Born to Be Wild. I'll do 25 or 6 to 4. And he's like, cool. And so technically the notes I played worked because it's technically the same key, just looking at it from a different perspective. And I played it from that perspective, not the one that I should have been playing it from. And it sounded awful when I played it in front of like the group. Because we did like a spring concert. And the way we always opened it was 3 songs from the jazz band. And naturally we did 25 or 6 to 4, and I had to improvise. And I played what I thought would have fit, which did not fit at all. And not to mention, that was my very first performance with Gracie, my main Les Paul. Like the very first time I had played her in front of people. The very first time. Brand new strings, and everything. So like I thought it was gonna go well. And it did not. And I can still find the performance online.
No.
And every
Oh,
time
no.
every time I hear it and I hear back my guitar solo, I cringe and I just immediately just like get it off my phone. I can't.
Does this happen often? That it just
No.
pops up? Okay.
No, not really. But
Do you
like
go
I
looking
know I
for
can
it?
every now and again as a reminder of how far I came. Okay.
Aw, okay.
But after that performance, and I had seen the video online for the first time, I was like, I never want to sound that bad in front of people again. And that forced me into building up and my guitar skills, my music knowledge in terms of improv and just general music theory and stuff. And in terms, it made me more confident. In essence, it's the failure of it that made me build my confidence.
That's a backwards way of doing things, but I like it.
I'm a very backwards guy, Izzy.
He really is. Okay, cool. My turn.
Yep, your turn.
Okay, great. We're so polite.
We are.
Definitely not because we don't have an outline.
Look, I don't know the outline. I'm trusting you with the
I
outline.
know you don't. I don't think anyone could figure out my outline but me. It's just very random scribbling.
It's just scribbles.
It really is. That I typed on my phone. I'm not talented. Anyway, I feel mine's kind of sad, but only because it took place directly after a funeral. So my siblings and I lost one of our cousins at the time that we were practicing for a play with our high school friends. And I had the co-lead role. Is that the term for it? Yeah. So I was like not quite the main character, but the secondary main character, best friend of the main character. So I had quite a few
Yeah.
lines, and there was a lot going on in that play emotionally, mostly because it was a very sad story to begin with, but it was fun because I like doing emotional things. If you go check out the Rhymes series, you'll find out exactly how
She says, I
emotional.
like being
Yeah.
sad.
I like being sad, actually. I love having my heartstrings pulled. That's why I'm a writer. But that particular day, we were coming to practice directly after. Bye. There you are. Sorry, shiny. Directly after our cousin's funeral, and it was. I actually held it together fairly well that day, in retrospect, so good on me. All of our friends, like, were in the middle of rehearsing a scene that I was in, or it was supposed to be in. So somebody was reading my lines for me while I was gone. So they all dropped what they were doing, came over, and it's like, oh my gosh, are you guys okay? Because they knew what had happened,
Yeah.
and they were being very sweet about it. It's like, yeah, we're fine. So I did not like hugs, so I ran to the bathroom to change out of my funeral clothes so I would avoid all that. And then as soon as I got back, they had started practicing the scene again, and thank you. I kind of just stood there and watched the gal doing my lines for me in my stead, and just watched for a little bit, not wanting to interrupt. And then the director stopped them, was like, okay, Izzy, you want to jump in and we'll get going with all of you here again? I was like, oh, okay, sure. So it's like I wasn't sure how I would do jumping straight back in the middle of a scene, but I had all of my lines memorized fairly well, so it wasn't too far off for me to just jump in character and then blaze through it. So we got done with the scene, and let's see, was that day? I think it was actually. Yeah, we got done with the scene, and the director during the break came over and was like, I can't believe you actually just were able to jump in without any pauses and do the whole scene with everything still in memory without any lead up or anything. It's like, yeah, that's how you do things as a professional. I don't know. That was kind of cool knowing that I could come back into acting mode so quickly and
Yeah.
with such a tight turnaround and still do a good job. And I feel like that kind of put me in their good graces for the next few roles, because I did get a few other roles after that. They said that I did a good job. So that was just a really good time for my confidence in general too, because the director was very nice and very complimentary, and he pulled me aside a couple times to tell me that I was doing a good job and that he was happy with my work and my help and stuff. So it was also kind of nice because I'd found other ways other than just being a good actor and a good steward with the roles I was given during those performances, to make myself useful. So like, that's the theater company where I learned how to do special effects makeup. So I learned how to do age makeup on people and wound makeup. I got to turn some of our cast into zombies at one point, so that was fun. One of the things that made me more confident wasn't even acting. It was finding other ways to be helpful to my casting crew for other performances in the future. And there was a performance where I was too old to actually participate, but I got to help with the makeup. And since somebody called in sick, I got to go on stage instead of in their stead, even though I was too old for it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I can walk on stage and die. I've done that before. I feel like I died in like every single one of my roles too. So that was kind of funny.
Oh, wow.
I got really good. I got very well acquainted with that stage. And
She said, I know how to die.
I know exactly how to die. I had an entire role that was dedicated to me dragging the dead bodies off the stage, so that was fun. That was a very rambly way of saying that, yes, indeed, theater is good for you.
But like I also feel like I mean I speak strictly from voice acting because I've only ever voice acted for you, but
And you did a good job.
my thing is like as someone who's voice acted for you and read your scripts and stuff, I feel like you've got a pretty vivid idea of what you're looking for as you're working on these things. So like when I did voice act for you, I could see that confidence or just speaking with you. Like I could hear the confidence in your voice of, well, if this is what I'm looking for, this is what I think is going to work, and this is what we should do.
Oh yeah, like I said, I have very high expectations for the quality of my work. So I
Yeah.
tend to have a pretty clear vision in my head. Although I will admit that I do sometimes have a very hard time of getting that across. Poor Empress Littlebit, who had to do the illustrations for me for Signals. There will be more in the future of the little drawings of the characters. I did not do the best job at explaining to her what it was I was looking for. Just told her it's like, oh yeah, just like a family picture of the main character with her parents. Thanks. I'll let you know if I need anything changed. And then she sent it to me and I'm like, why is it in black and white? And she's like, you said muted color. And I'm like, wait, no, do
That's
it
too
again.
muted.
That's too muted. Yeah, so I'm learning to trying to be a lot more clear with how I direct and how I
But there's also it's also tricky to explain exactly what it is you're looking for when it comes to artistic stuff like that too.
very true.
So like as a musician, we describe music tones anything but other than what they actually are. That's just what we do.
Yeah.
Like if I use the bridge pickup on Gracie, it sounds super pokey compared to the neck pickup on one of these other guitars and stuff like that. Like it's got like a verb attached to it.
Uh-huh. That's-
And so like it's hard to explain.
That's actually something we have to learn as hairstylists too. I feel like I keep dropping hints of what it is that I'm going to school for, and then every now and again I just like drop the act
Just a
completely. I'm
bombshell?
just like, yeah, I'm a hairstylist now. But we have to learn the terminology two ways as students. One is what we're going to be using on board exams to make sure we can get licensing, which is the technical terms. And then the other one is the terms that clients actually understand, which makes it very odd to have to be like, oh yeah, so we're going to do a 0-degree haircut first, and then we're going to do the layers with a modified 90 with a 180 in the front. Like, to me, that makes sense. To them, that means a shack cut or whatever reference picture you just showed me because you don't know the word for it.
Yeah.
So it's very, very strange. Like, that's another part of confidence too, is sometimes you can become so overly confident that nobody else understands what you're doing. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's also another point too. I don't know if someone's ever explained what is it? Well, I would love to explain it to you if I could make my train come back. Hold on.
She said, I would love to explain it to you if I knew what it was.
Uh-huh. Yep. Actually, though, there's like a 4-stage process to learning things, and it's unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, so on and so forth. But basically, the last stage of it is unconscious competence, which means you can do something without thinking. However,
Yeah.
that can also kind of become a problem when you're trying to train someone to also be able to do it. That was something that came up a lot at work when I first became a trainer, was I didn't know how to explain what I did because I would shut off my brain and just do it because I had gotten that good at it. But I
Yep,
did,
I relate to that.
yeah, but I did end up figuring out ways to explain it. It just took a while. But now I'm in a place where I need people to explain to me what it is that they're doing. And they're all masters of their craft. Like, all the stylists at our school are so amazing. But they don't always know how to explain what they do because they've been doing it for so long. They've come up with their own methods. It's all they don't have to think about it at all. But
It's the equivalent of being at work and saying, I'm going to train you how to do it this way, but I'm actually going to show you how I do it.
exactly. That would probably get me fired if I did it at my workplace. But it's really strange, and they actually tell us, it's like, if you don't like the way one instructor tells you to do something, go ask another one because I guarantee they're going to have a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
And I even had an instructor tell me, like, I was trying to do it the way that they showed me, and they just straight up looked at me and was like, this method may not be for you. Like, they gave up on me trying to teach me the technical way of doing things. Like, you should probably just figure out your own way of doing it.
Yeah. I mean, at its core, right? If it's done to satisfaction, then I don't think it matters how it was done, as long as it was done safely, obviously.
Wise words from Lane.
Look, that's how I train my crew at work. I don't sound like a great manager.
We're going to
right
write this on
now.
his tombstone.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Just
matter how
put-
you do it if it works.
Honestly, that's that's my new merch line.
Just on his, just like a t-shirt with a tombstone on it that said it worked.
It worked.
It worked.
Oh wow.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, no, I feel that though, because the same way with what I do musically. I mean, like I could never be a teacher because as I'm doing this stuff, I shut my brain off.
I didn't think
It's
I
all
could
muscle
either.
memory.
I didn't think I could either, though, but I think you'd be surprised what you're able to teach. Granted, teaching is like a whole other thing that you need to learn how to do.
Yeah,
Like, it's not enough to be good at whatever it is. You do have to be able to also teach it. So you can be a great teacher without being good at whatever the thing is that you're teaching.
well, like at least in my industry, there with guitars and everything, it's hard to teach if you don't know the proper terminology.
That's fair. Yeah.
Because I don't. It's all by ear. I did not learn through a teacher, unless we qualify YouTube as my teacher.
I mean,
And that's through like 14 other sources. So no, I don't count that.
that's how I learned how to longboard.
I mean, hey, there you go.
There we go.
But it's like I could sit here and noodle on the guitar all day in front of somebody I'm trying to teach, and be like, this is how you would play this. And they're like, okay, well, what key is that in? My brain's not going to know. I can tell them the basic ones, but I can't look at them and be like, oh, this isn't A Mixolydian or this is C Phrygian. I can't do that.
Who, what now?
Exactly my point. I don't know those things.
I have never
But those
heard
are
that.
actual things.
Huh.
Those are actual scales, yes.
You want to know the ratio of bleach to developer?
Sure. What is it?
It's 2-1.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't matter. Um,
Okay.
Well, I think that's enough for today. Honestly, this was a really interesting subject. I think we could go on if we needed to or wanted to.
Yeah. It's nice to discuss other topics outside of Minecraft. Like
Yeah,
this.
who knew? Who knew having a
Yeah.
life outside of Minecraft would be interesting in Minecraft?
Right.
Huh? Not me.
No.
Anyway,
Never.
what are our takeaways for today? If it works, do it.
Doesn't
Go
matter
look-
how it's done,
yeah,
as
go-
long as it's done.
As long as it's done. Go look up YouTube tutorials to do things. It's great. Join your local theater group to build your confidence. Maybe jazz band too.
Maybe.
And go get a haircut.
And go get a haircut. It reminds me, I need to get a hold of my barber.
It's me. How long?
I'm look, I love you,
I'll
Izzy,
get-
but I'm not driving across
get
the
you on my
country for a
books.
haircut. One day, but not
so
today.
hard to find good clientele these days.
Maybe if you know what, how about this? You come to TwitchCon, I'll let you do my hair there.
Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. I buzzed
She just comes to TwitchCon just to make a few bucks off
I'll
of a
come with my
haircut.
clippers. Absolutely. I'll pay $1,000 to shave your head.
Yeah. No, we ain't doing that.
Give him a low taper fade.
Nope. Nope. I will provide you the same reference image that I provide my normal barber.
We're gonna show some skin.
No.
Through the fade.
No.
All right. Thank you all so much for listening.
Let us know in the comments if you want to see another excerpt of us talking about confidence or any other subjects that you might want us to talk about, since we're not just interviewing people now.
Yay.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you all think. So thank you all for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Oh, go to the Craftworks Discord. Go talk to us there.
Oh yeah, we never plugged that. That's
We-
that's in the description.
It never made it in. Oh no. Okay, but now we can safely end the podcast. It's okay. All right. We did
Yeah.
it, guys. Don't worry. We'll see you all
We're professionals.
next time. Goodbye.
Bye all.